What kind of person bulldozes a family's legacy just to make their neighborhood look prettier? I was nursing a coffee on my porch, the dawn painting the barn in hues of fire, when a sound hit me like a punchwood splintering, chickens screaming, and a woman barking orders like she owned the world. By the time I reached the coop, Emily stood in the wreckage like some city slicker playing dictator, hands on hips, designer shades glinting, a bulldozer retreating like it knew it had done wrong. She didn't know me. Didn't know I owned every inch of dirt under her polished boots. And she sure didn't know that Coop wasn't just boards and wire, was my grandpa's heart, carved into cedar beams 40 years ago. The air reeked of her arrogance before the dust even settled. Emily was yelling about code violations, safety risks, how eyesores, like my Coop, dragged down her precious property values. The Coop lay in ruins, tire tracks scarring its foundation, feathers floating like ashes in a bad dream. Grandpa's hand-painted sign, Dawson's Egg Haven, was snapped in two, half buried in mud. I didn't speak. Not yet. I knelt, picked up a beam etched with Grandpa's initials, the first thing he built on this ranch before the house, before he won Grandma Lily's heart. That Coop was our family's cornerstone, worth more than Emily's entire HOA empire. She rambled on, not even asking who I was, while VYing at the rubble like it offended her. She said farm animals didn't belong near residential zones. Threatened to call the county. I took a deep breath, the kind you take when you're counting to 10 to keep from losing it. But instead of snapping, I whistled for my dogs and headed back to the house. Her heels clicked behind me, sharp as gunfire on my gravel. Then she saw the mailbox, a carved oak slab reading, Dawson Ranch, EST 1954, with a gold-plated deed marker gleaming below it. Her jaw dropped, flapped, then shut tight. Wait, she stammered. You live here? No, I said, cool as a winter creek. I own here. The truth hit her like a slap. The house, the coop, the hills rolling out to the horizon, all mine, passed from Grandpa Eli, to my dad, to me. Her HOA's reach stopped a half-mile short. Emily hadn't just trespassed, she'd obliterated private property and scattered my livestock. Her face turned the color of raw steak. She mumbled about blended zoning and community standards. I asked if her bulldozer guy had those standards in writing before flattening what wasn't hers. Silence. The chickens, some missing feathers, clucked in defiance. One perched on a broken plank, glaring like a tiny warrior. I could have called the sheriff right then, but I told her to leave. She crossed her arms. I have every right to be here, she snapped. This area's under HOA now, transitional planning. I shook my head. That nonsense might fly in a cul-de-sac, but not on a ranch that had seen 3 generations, sheltered rescue animals, and hosted town cookouts for decades. My words were backed by deeds and law, hers by ego and a clipboard. She didn't leave. She stormed to her SUV, dialing furiously, probably calling the cops to paint me as a squatter or some crazy farmer. I leaned on the porch rail, waiting. Sure enough, a cruiser rolled up 20 minutes later. Deputy Tom stepped out, toothpick in mouth, nodding like we were swapping fishing stories. Emily charged him, ranting like she was on a reality show. He let her tire herself out, then turned to me. Got the paperwork? I handed him a folder, surveys, deeds, photos of the coop before Emily's rampage. He skimmed it, glanced at the wreckage, then at her. Ma'am, he said, slow as molasses, you might need a lawyer. Not for him. For you. She sputtered about being HOA president, about neighborhood aesthetics. Tom just stared, like she was yelling at a brick wall. She peeled out, tires spitting gravel. I knew she'd be back. Emily wasn't the type to quit. The next morning, the air felt heavy, like trouble brewing despite the clear sky. The chickens avoided the coop's remains, still spooked. I stood by an old cedar post, the only piece left standing after floods, storms, even an earthquake back in '89. It hadn't survived Emily. My phone buzzed, unknown number. Her voice, sharp enough to curdle milk, announced she'd filed with county code enforcement and the sheriff, claiming I was running an illegal livestock operation. I told her to buckle up when the law explained itself. She hung up. By noon, a county truck pulled in. Curtis, a code officer with shiny shoes and a thick folder, asked to look around. I waved him on. He took photos, made notes, then sat with me on the porch. I poured him water. He said Emily claimed I was running a commercial farm without permits. I slid him my zoning docs. He whistled. Your grandfathered in, he said. Rural homestead exemption. Your coop's legal. So's every animal here. He added that my land was well outside HOA bounds and Emily had no leg to stand on. But then he dropped a bomb. She'd filed to annex my ranch into her HOA, claiming it fit their unified plan. Unlikely to pass, he said, but I should know. I thanked him, watched him drive off, and called my cousin Sarah, a land use lawyer. She listened, then asked, Got security footage? I had trail cams for coyotes and trespassers. She told me to check them and dig out the drone Grandpa bought me years back. Let's have fun, she said, her voice sparking like a fuse. The footage was gold. Emily, in a floral top, leading a crew and a bulldozer onto my land, pointing at the coop, yelling about beautification as it crumbled. Time-stamped, crystal clear, screaming trespass and malice. I sent it to Sarah. She drafted a trespass and destruction complaint, suggesting mediation but keeping court on the table. Then she asked, What's she really after? I guess land. Sarah laughed. Bigger. She wants precedent. If she claims your ranch is HOA turf, she boosts property values, pushes you out, and splits your land for profit. You're a threat to her hustle. That night, I flew the drone, capturing Emily's new fence posts planted 20 feet past her boundary. Every illegal stake, every sign, recorded. By morning, I had enough to make a judge sit up straight. Then came the hammers. A crew was pounding posts into my pasture, orange fencing unrolling like a bad joke. A guy with a clipboard grinned. Morning! Setting up the new HOA line. Emily said you were informed. I asked for their permit. He fumbled. I told him to clear out or show me legal papers. He called his boss. I walked the line, spotting a sign. Future site of HOA Nature Trail. This wasn't about rules. It was a land grab. I called Sarah. She said it was attempted seizure and filed an injunction to stop HOA projects near my land. That evening, Emily marched up with 2 board members, sun hat bobbing, face sour. You're escalating this, she hissed. We're improv-vying the community. I said my land wasn't her community. She waved papers about. Future expansion. I pointed out her buddy had crossed my boundary stone. He stepped back fast. Things went quiet, too quiet. Then, at 7 a.m., a loudspeaker blared from a truck on her side, Emily's voice droning about beautification grants and targeting non-compliant livestock properties. It was war by noise. I fought back with Grandpa's old bullhorn, blasting country tunes and chicken tribe via toward her sub-Vy shown. Petty, legal, loud. She called the sheriff to complain. I told them I'd stop when her noise did. Days later, a neighbor slipped me her fake petition to Unified Border Properties, her latest annexation ploy. Most neighbors, loyal to fresh eggs and quiet nights, refused to sign. Then I caught her on my land again, by the creek, scribbling notes. I showed her the trail cam footage she'd triggered. She stormed off, face like a tomato. It was time to go big. I unleashed chaos. 6 goats, 2 ducks, and a llama named Scout, borrowed from a rescue. They roamed near her fence, nibbling markers, drawing stares. During her investor tour, a goat stole a ribbon, ducks quacked, and Scout snorted, spooking her guests. Emily screamed. Animal control came, saw my permits, and left. I posted selfies with Scout online. Sarah upped the ante, filing a cease and desist and demanding damages for the coop. I started rebuilding it bigger, brighter, with a sign. Dawson Legacy Coop, stronger than HOA lies. Neighbors helped. Kids painted murals. The county deemed it a model structure. Emily called the sheriff, claiming I was protesting. Deputy Tom saw lemonade and kids painting, stayed for a drink. Emily vanished for a week, then reappeared quieter, but I knew she was plotting. The court date loomed. In the tiny courthouse, I walked in with Sarah and a folder of Evy Denke. Emily sat, primp like she was at a gala. Sarah laid out our case, VY Deos, deeds, drone shots. Emily interrupted, claiming biohazards. The judge asked if she owned my land. No, she admitted. Twice. Her lawyer tried to pin it on the HOA, but the verdict was clear: pay for the Coop, legal fees, and stay away, or face penalties. Emily froze. Outside, neighbors shook my hand. By evening, a balloon was tied to my mailbox, a kid's sign reading Coop Justice, with scouts stomping an HOA logo. We held a barbecue, the new coop glowing, chickens happy. Emily's SUV paused at my gate, her face unreadable, then drove off. Her HOA ousted her, her house went up for sale, and she left without a word. I filed to make the ranch a protected heritage site, sealing its future. A news crew covered it, and letters poured in, stories of Grandpa's markets, offers of lumber, a flag stitched with "Stand your ground." One evening, I sat on the porch, scout grazing, stars waking. The land was mine, not just in law, but in love. Emily thought she could redraw history with a clipboard. She didn't know some roots grow too deep to pull.